Imagine waking up tomorrow with the ability to control your phone, your computer, even a robotic arm, using nothing but your thoughts. No hands. No voice commands. Just pure thought, translated instantly into action. Sound like science fiction? Well, there's a guy with a spinal cord injury named Nolan who's already doing this right now. Today. He's playing video games, browsing the internet, and posting on social media, all with just his mind. And he's not alone. As of late 2025, 12 people around the world are living with computer chips implanted directly into their brains, collectively logging over 15,000 hours of brain-computer interface use. This isn't some distant future we're talking about. This is happening right now. And it's being led by one of the most controversial and ambitious companies on the planet. But here's what's really wild. The medical applications, they're just the beginning. The ultimate goal isn't just to help paralyzed people walk again or blind people see. The ultimate goal is to fundamentally upgrade the human brain itself, to merge human consciousness with artificial intelligence, to give our biological brains the processing power of computers. So today, we're diving deep into Neuralink's actual progress, the mind-bending technology behind it, the very real ethical nightmares it creates, and the future that's barreling toward us faster than most people realize. Because whether you're ready or not, the age of the cyborg is here. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why this might be the most important technology humanity has ever developed, or the most dangerous. Let's talk about what happens when silicon meets neurons. Let's start with what Neuralink actually is, because the media coverage has been, let's say, mixed. At its core, Neuralink is a brain-computer interface, or BCI. It's a coin-sized device, about the size of a large button, that gets surgically implanted into your skull, sitting flush with the surface of your brain. But the real magic isn't the device itself, it's what's attached to it. Over 1,000 ultra-thin electrode threads, each thinner than a human hair, that penetrate about 2 millimeters into your brain tissue. These threads are distributed across 64 different insertion points, and each thread contains multiple electrodes. Think of them like tiny microphones, listening to the electrical conversations happening between your neurons. Because that's essentially what thoughts are. Patterns of electrical signals firing between brain cells. Your brain has about 86 billion neurons, and they're constantly firing electrical impulses to communicate with each other. When you think about moving your hand, specific patterns of neurons fire in your motor cortex. When you see something, different patterns fire in your visual cortex. Neuralink's electrodes detect these firing patterns and translate them into digital signals that a computer can understand. And here's what makes Neuralink different from previous brain-computer interfaces. It's wireless. It has way more electrodes than most systems, and the surgical installation is performed almost entirely by a robot. That last part is crucial. Human hands simply aren't precise enough to insert threads this thin into brain tissue without causing damage. So Neuralink developed a surgical robot that looks like a cross between a sewing machine and something from a sci-fi movie. It can insert the threads with sub-millimeter precision, carefully avoiding blood vessels. The entire implant is designed to be invisible from the outside. Once it's in, it charges wirelessly through your skin, like a phone on a wireless charging pad, and it communicates with external devices via Bluetooth. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds terrifying. And yeah, it kind of is. But for people like Nolan Darbaugh, the first human recipient, it's been absolutely life-changing. Nolan Darbaugh is 28 years old. Before receiving the Neuralink implant in January 2024, he used a stick held in his mouth to operate a tablet. He'd been paralyzed from the shoulders down after a diving accident. Every single interaction with the digital world required assistance or exhausting workarounds. After the implant, he can now control his computer merely by thinking, significantly enhancing his independence. He's played video games. He's designed 3D objects. He's browsed the internet for hours. Things that most of us take completely for granted became possible again through pure thought. But Nolan's journey wasn't perfectly smooth. A few weeks after the implant, some of the electrode threads retracted from his brain tissue, reducing the number of functioning channels. It was a setback that raised serious questions about the device's long-term stability. But Neuralink's team adjusted their algorithms, and the device's functionality was restored. The second patient, who also has a spinal cord injury, now has 400 of the device's 1,024 electrodes functioning, and he's achieved something remarkable. He's been able to play video games with his kids. Something as simple as playing Mario Kart with your children becomes a profound moment when you've been robbed of that ability by paralysis. As of September 2025, 12 people around the world are living with Neuralink's N1 implant, collectively recording more than 15,000 hours of device use across 2,000 days. That's real-world data, real humans, living their lives with computers in their brains. One of these patients is RJ, a paralyzed United States military veteran who was injured in a motorcycle accident. After receiving the implant, he said something that really captures what this technology means. They're giving me my spark back, my drive back. They've given me my purpose back. That's not just about controlling a cursor or playing a game. That's about human dignity, about agency, about feeling like a full participant in the world again. And the technology is improving rapidly. Interim reports suggest that implanted patients have achieved typing speeds of up to 40 words per minute using a virtual keyboard, comparable to able-bodied performance with on-screen keyboards. This technology is moving from the realm of science fiction into our reality, and it's doing so with incredible speed. We're witnessing the first steps of a revolution in human-machine interaction. So, Neuralink works. It's not perfect, but it works. The question now is, where is all this heading? Elon Musk has announced plans for another 20 to 30 procedures in 2025. The company is scaling up, and they're doing it aggressively. They've opened a second clinical trials site at the University of Miami, and are preparing to expand trials beyond the US into Canada, the UK, Germany, and even the UAE. But the current version, called telepathy, is just phase 1. It's focused solely on helping paralyzed individuals control digital devices with their thoughts. Phase 2 is called blind sight, and it's exactly what it sounds like: restoring vision to people who are blind. The FDA has already given it a breakthrough device designation, which fast-tracks its review. The idea is to bypass damaged eyes and optic nerves completely, sending visual information directly to the brain's visual cortex. Early versions won't provide normal vision. Think low resolution, almost pixelated sight. But for someone who's been living in darkness, even that would be like. And as the tech improves, the resolution will too. But here's where it gets really wild. Neuralink isn't just trying to restore lost functions. They're also exploring how to restore lost speech and refine robotic limb control. Imagine not just sending commands to a robotic hand, but also receiving feedback like touch or pressure, mimicking natural movement. That's bidirectional communication. It's one thing to read brain signals, but it's another thing entirely to send signals back. That's how you restore not just movement, but sensation. The feeling of touching something. The weight of an object. This isn't science fiction. It's what they're actively developing right now. But let's pump the brakes for a second, because this is way harder than it sounds. First, there's the problem of electrode stability. Remember how some of the first patients' electrode threads reach? The brain is essentially jello floating in fluid. It moves with every heartbeat. When you stick tiny electrodes into it, the brain tissue can become inflamed and form scar tissue, walling off the electrodes and making them less effective over time. It's like trying to hear a conversation through an increasingly thick wall. Neuralink's flexible threads are a big improvement, but this is still a massive, ongoing challenge. Second, there's computational complexity. The human brain has 86 billion neurons. Neuralink's implant, with its 1,000 electrodes, is sampling an incredibly tiny fraction of that activity. It is like trying to understand a symphony by listening to just a few musicians in a 100-piece orchestra. You get some information, but you're missing most of the picture. To decode complex thoughts or language, you'd need vastly more electrodes, which means more data, more power, and more risk. And then there's the software. Everyone's brain is different. The pattern of neurons that fires when I think about moving my hand is exactly the same as yours. So each patient has to spend hours training the AI to recognize their specific brain patterns. It's a constant process of calibration and refinement. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Privacy. Neuralink is recording your brain activity. Your thoughts are being converted into digital data and transmitted wirelessly. Who owns that data? Who owns your thoughts? Right now, it's about motor commands. But as the tech advances, could your brain implant be hacked? Could a company or a government gain access to your unfiltered mental activity? We worry about what Google and Facebook know about us. Imagine a company with direct access to your neural data, your subconscious reactions, your emotions. Could it be sold to advertisers, used by insurance companies? There are no laws specifically protecting neural data yet. And what about the thoughts you don't want anyone to know? Intrusive thoughts, private fantasies, dreams. If a brain implant can read those, where do we draw the line between medical device and surveillance technology? These concerns are just the beginning of the ethical minefield. Neuralink's current focus is medical, which gets public support. But Elon Musk's ultimate vision is to enhance healthy human brains, to create a neural lace that allows humans to merge with AI. But let's imagine that future. If an implant that boosts your memory costs $100,000, only the wealthy can afford it. You've instantly created a biological class system, the enhanced versus the unenhanced. At what age is it okay to implant a chip in a child? Would colleges or employers require them? We could be creating a world where having a computer in your brain isn't optional, but a necessity to participate in society. And what if there are long-term side effects we don't know about yet? The human brain is the most complex thing in the known universe. We understand so little about it. The idea that we can just start upgrading it like a computer is incredibly bold and incredibly risky. The future is coming fast, and we need to be asking these hard questions now, before it's too late. This is where the story shifts from the medical clinic to the future philosophy class. If you can use a brain-computer interface to move a mouse, what else can you use it for? Elon Musk has been very open about the long-term, transhumanist vision. Cognitive augmentation. Think about your current phone. It's a massive external processing unit. It holds more knowledge than you could ever learn. But getting that knowledge from the screen into your brain is slow. We're bottlenecked by our eyes, our reading speed, and our attention spans. The Neuralink vision suggests a future where this information transfer is direct. Imagine telepathic communication, not mind reading in the sci-fi sense, but two people, both with a link, able to mentally compose and transmit high bandwidth data packages like thoughts, images, and emotional context directly to each other, without speaking or typing. Imagine studying for an exam and being able to mentally download an entire textbook, or, in the workplace, having a direct mental connection to an AI assistant that provides instantaneous data and calculations as you think. The moment this technology moves from restoring lost function to enhancing existing function, the societal impact is seismic. It raises huge questions. For example, the divide. If only the wealthy can afford the mental upgrade, do we create a new form of human, a link-rich cognitive elite, leaving the rest of the world behind? What about the self? If part of your consciousness is an always-on connection to the internet, where does your mind end and the machine begin? And what about safety? If your brain is connected to a network, can it be hacked? Can a malicious actor access your thoughts, disrupt your motor commands, or even upload malware to your neural circuits? This isn't paranoia. This is a very real, very complex debate that regulatory bodies and ethicists are scrambling to address. The promise is incredible, but the peril is equally profound. Let's be honest. For all the dramatic pronouncements and flashy demos like the one with the pigs playing video games with their thoughts, Neuralink still faces enormous, fundamental challenges that could take years or decades to solve. Challenge number 1. Durability and bio. The brain is essentially a bag of salty water. Implanting a foreign object, even one as sophisticated as the link, causes an immediate immune response. The body will try to wall off the foreign invader with scar tissue. This scar tissue grows around the electrodes, muffling their ability to read neural signals over time. The signal quality degrades, and the device eventually becomes useless. Solving this long-term degradation problem is the single biggest technical hurdle in the entire field. Challenge number 2. Power and heat. The human brain uses a surprising amount of power. Running a high-bandwidth device with 1,000 electrodes and an onboard processor generates heat. Too much heat in a confined space, like the skull, can damage delicate brain tissue, making the device small, high capacity, and low power without overheating is a monumental engineering feat. Challenge number 3. Decoding complexity. The sheer number of potential thoughts and actions is astronomical. An algorithm may be trained to recognize the signal from move cursor left, but how do you train it to distinguish between the thought "I'm hungry," "I'm angry," or that sunset is beautiful? Our current understanding of the brain isn't a simple code that can be easily mapped. It's a massive, fluid, and highly personalized network. The decoding software is arguably more complex than the hardware. And then there's the ethical and regulatory labyrinth. The FDA is meticulous, and rightly so, when it comes to implanting devices in the brain. Trials are slow, expensive, and rigorously scrutinized. Getting from the first limited human trial to a mass-market consumer product is a marathon. The technology is real. The progress is stunning. But the journey from a single clinical trial to cognitive augmentation for everyone is still paved with some of the most difficult engineering and biological problems ever faced. Let's assume they solve the technical problems. Now we face the greatest challenge of all. The data. Your brain data is the most intimate, personal, and valuable information you possess. It is the raw material of your consciousness. If you have a Neuralink device, who owns the data stream of your thoughts, intentions, and emotions? Is it you? Is it Neuralink? Is it the massive tech company providing the AI that your link is plugged into? This isn't just about privacy. It's about control. If an insurance company can access your neural data and sees you have a high predisposition to anxiety or depression, could they deny you coverage? Could advertisers target you based on a real-time, subconscious craving recorded directly from your brain? The very idea of a third party, a corporation, having potential access to the foundational elements of your thought process is a profound invasion of the self. We struggle right now with social media companies, knowing what we like and where we go. Imagine a company knowing what you intend to like, or where you intend to go, seconds before you've even consciously processed the decision. The future of brain-machine interfaces is inextricably linked to the future of digital rights. If we merge our minds with machines, we have to create an unbreakable firewall around our core identity. The very definition of free will might depend on it. We started by imagining a world where thought controls machine, and we found that this world is not a distant dream. It's being built right now. In the labs of Neuralink and dozens of competitor companies around the globe, Neuralink represents the sharpest edge of human technological ambition. It's a dual-use tool unlike any other, promising both profound healing for those suffering from debilitating conditions and unfathomable augmentation for the entire species. The medical applications. Alone the prospect of restoring sight, movement, and memory are reason enough for the excitement. This technology is a beacon of hope for millions. But the ultimate goal, the merging of mind and machine to keep pace with AI, forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about our own evil. Are we ready to give up our biological limitations in exchange for cognitive superpowers? Are we willing to sacrifice a degree of privacy and maybe even a little of our natural, messy humanity for the efficiency and immortality of the machine? The answers will define the next century. We have the technology to build the chip. Now we must develop the wisdom to deploy it ethically. The challenge is no longer technical. It is moral, legal, and philosophical. The future is not a choice between humans and machines. The future is about humans as machines. And you, watching this right now, will likely live to see the first great steps of that irreversible merger. So, here's my question for you. If Neuralink were proven 100% safe, would you get the link implanted to cure a disease, or just to get the ultimate cognitive upgrade? Let me know your thoughts and your wildest theories in the comments below. If you want to keep exploring the intersection of technology, humanity, and the mind, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. We've got a lot more future to unpack. Thanks for for watching.